Okay, so we're fixing to do number 12 of the worksheet 8.3. And once again, we're going to do it both ways. Hopefully you have already watched how to do number 11. I went over that in pretty great detail. So this video is going to be a little faster. So that way you'll have a shorter one and it will be easier to watch. Ha! All right, here we go. So we're going to, once again, work it both ways. Elimination method. Elimination means you're going to change the signs of one equation. Sometimes you have to change both. It can get crazy. And then combine those two to create a single equation that has a single variable that you can solve. And then that gets you going on the process to figure out the other one. And then substitution is just to say, okay, I'm just going to take the easiest equation to solve it for a variable, and substitute it in the other and get that cycle going. All right, so here we go, number 12. So once again, I'm labeling my paper up at the top here. Solving systems of equations. I'll just do that. Now that's messy. Bad teacher. I don't like being messy like that. Don't worry, I will use that for tinder to start fires in the stove. Okay. Probably use it for taking extra notes when I need it. I won't waste it. All right, so we're doing worksheet 8.3, and today on this one, we're going to do number 12. All right, remember, we're trying to find solutions. Anytime you're working a math problem, you need to write down what your solution, what your answer, what your goal is. So your brain will see that as you're doing your work and go, I am not done till I have that. It is an excellent thing to do. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people make the mistake of stopping before they're done. And this kind of helps them out. All right, so for number 12, we're going to work it using the elimination method and the substitution method. All right. And I am right now working at home, so I'm getting text messages about school. All right, so number 12 is negative 5x plus y equals 35, and 3x plus 2y equals negative 21. I guess I should credit that ringtone. That's a song. It's called Bumpin' on Sunset by Wes Montgomery. Okay. Let me divide up my paper. All right, so elimination. We need to combine these two so that either the x's or the y's go away. So if you remember in number 11, same kind of thing here. 5 and 3, you cannot make those the same number without multiplying or dividing by a decimal. But 2 and, remember, what is this? It's a 1. That's pretty easy. So I'm going to go with the y's because it would be easy to make 1 into a 2 by multiplying by 2. And I also need this to be a negative. So I'm going to make this a negative 2. Otherwise, I'd have to multiply the top by 2, the bottom by a negative. Ugh, just do it at once. So I'm going to multiply up here by negative 2. And remember the distributive property? Every term, so negative 5x is a term, this positive 1y is a term, and the 35 on the other side is a term because it's part of its own, it's its own little expression. It's got its own little world. Ooh. And I'm going to rewrite it down here because I chose to work like this. So negative times a negative, positive. 2 times 5, 10. And the variable is just an x. Next term, negative 2 times positive 1y. Negative times a positive is a negative. 2 times 1 is 2, and then the only variable you have is a y. And this equals 35 times -2, -70. All right, so we are ready to go. So now let's combine everything on each side of the equation. And let's see what we get. So the y's are going to cancel here. And over here, we've got 10 positives, and this is 3 positives. So that's going to be 13x. And then on this side, these are both negatives, so it's going to be a big group of negatives, a whole bunch of negativity. Oh my gosh. But 21 plus 70 gives us 91 negatives. All right, there we go. Now we have an equation. So we're going to divide both sides by 13. And x equals negative divided by, this is a positive, is a negative. And see what number times 3 gives you an answer that ends in 1. 7 times 3 is 21. 7 times 10 is 70. So 21 plus 70, 91. X is -7. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to take that, and going back up here, it doesn't really matter which one you use, as always. But I like the second one because this doesn't have a negative to go with this negative. I don't want to have to worry about that. So I'm going to substitute this into 3x plus 2y equals -21. And that's going to go right there. So 3 times -7 plus 2y equals -21. And let's solve it. So simplify. 3 times -7, -21. Bring down the rest of it, just as it is. Bam, bam. And then I need to get rid of this first, get rid of the farthest number. But I need the opposite, right? And what happens when you do that? Is it okay to have these guys? Sure. What does it mean if you take everything away from what's there? That leaves you with nothing, 0. Anytime you're going to end up with nothing, the value of nothing is 0. So this becomes 0. These guys canceled. So if 2y's equals 0, well, if you divide that by 2, you divide nothing by 2, you still got nothing. So our answer, XY format, is going to be -7, 0. There's our answer. And if we go check, remember, it's a good idea. I should have checked up here. But if we go check the solutions, there is an answer that has -7. There's a couple that have -7 for the x coordinate, but there's only one that has 0 as the y coordinate, and that is the word stamped. So that tells us we did it correctly. All right. Now let's go ahead and do it the substitution method. So for substitution, you're going to have, ooh, that's a negative, isn't it? Yep. -5x plus y equals 35. And then 3x plus 2y equals -21. So you want to identify which one is by itself. And of course here, none of them are. But it wouldn't be too difficult to get that y by itself. So our goal here is to isolate the y. So to isolate the y, we need to get rid of the -5x. So to get rid of the -5x, let me just rewrite that over here out of the way. And don't forget, this will also give us a place to figure out what y is later. But I'm going to copy it over here to set that up. And I want to get rid of the -5x. So I'm going to add 5x to both sides. Equal action on both sides. Cancel. And you get y equals, now I can't put those together. So remember, write it down as it is. Y equals 35 plus 5x. Okay, let me zoom in because it's getting kind of scrunchy there. So now I can take this And anytime you do this, you do not want to put this back into the same equation because it'll give you a messy, basically a messy equation. It'll give you a true equation, but not something useful. So don't do that. Remember, solve one equation, plug it into the other. So that's why I like these arrows, because it helps me visualize that. All right, so I'm going to plug that in right there for y. So in parentheses, 35 plus 5x right there. And then everything else comes down like it was. So 3x plus 2, and then what the y was, equals negative 21. All right, now I got to simplify. So I'm going to distribute that 2 inside here. So this is going to be 2 times 35 and 2 times 5x. So 2 times 35 is 70. 2 times 5x, numbers. 2 times 5 is 10. Variables, just the x. And remember, you have to have something here to separate your terms. If there is nothing, by default, it's positive, because that 10 by default is positive. And then bring everything else down, just like before. So 3x, oh, same thing. 70 by default is positive. And then over here equals negative 21. All right. So now I need to combine like terms. 3x's and 10x's give me 13x's plus that 70 equals negative 21. That's just going to come over here because they didn't change. And let's get rid of that 70. Isn't this starting to look like something we saw on the other side? Kind of, sort of, a little bit. Remember, equal action on both sides. So 13x is still here. This guy cancels. And this equals, I've got 21 negatives, 70 negatives. Oh, just like over here, a whole bunch of negativity. Oh, so negative. And you get negative 91. And then we divide by 13. And x equals a negative. There's no sign here. This is a positive. So negative divided by a positive is a negative. And 91 divided by 13 is 7. All right. And now I can take this and come back up here and reuse that equation I had before and find y. So y equals 35 plus 5 times negative 7. I don't know if I can get that any closer. Okay. So I'm going to simplify this right here. And that's going to give me negative 35 because a positive times a negative is negative. 5 times 7 is 35. So y equals 35 minus 35. Oh, isn't that kind of what happened over here? Just in a different way. Same thing happened, but in a different way. And we know that's going to be a 0. So when you put those two together, x equals negative 7, y equals 0. Same thing right there. So the final answer here, in that format, x is 7, negative 7, y is 0. And that matches what we got over here. All right, so there it is. If you have any questions, if you're one of my students, of course, you can text me, email me, anything. And hopefully this helped you out. Remember, you don't have to do both, okay? So if you're looking at this, either do it this way and you're done, or do it this way and you're done, okay? All right, have a good day.